Is Marvel Rivals player base becoming too toxic and dominance-driven? The gaming world has long struggled with balancing competitiveness and community, and Marvel Rivals is the latest battleground where this tension is playing out. As the game garners more attention, players have started noticing a shift in the tone of its community, one that leans increasingly toward toxicity and an obsession with dominance. While competitive spirit is natural in a player-versus-player environment, the intensity of this behavior in Marvel Rivals raises important questions about what kind of community is being cultivated, and at what cost. The rise in toxicity appears closely linked to the structure and meta of the game. Marvel Rivals, much like its genre predecessors, thrives on synergy and skill-based combat. However, when the game mechanics reward hyper-optimization and aggressive strategies above all else, players begin to adopt a win-at-all-costs mindset. This often leads to hostility toward those perceived as underperforming or not playing meta, driving away casual or newer players. As a result, the community becomes increasingly insular, dominated by players who value victory over camaraderie. Another contributing factor is the growing popularity of online streaming and content creation centered around Marvel Rivals. High-profile streamers and esports hopefuls often emphasize mechanical superiority and ruthless tactical play. While this undoubtedly fuels viewership and engagement, it also reinforces a culture of elitism. Players who emulate these figures may feel justified in belittling others, perpetuating a toxic cycle where only the strong deserve respect and attention within the community. Social media platforms and in-game communication tools exacerbate the issue. Forums and chats, meant to foster dialogue and collaboration, frequently devolve into echo chambers of complaints, flame wars, and gatekeeping. What begins as critique quickly spirals into personal attacks or blanket judgments about skill level. This environment not only discourages player retention but also damages the game's long-term appeal by creating an unwelcoming space for anyone who doesn't conform to the prevailing ethos of dominance. Moreover, Marvel Rivals' matchmaking algorithm may unintentionally contribute to this problem. The emphasis on quick matchmaking over balanced matches often leads to lopsided games, which fuels frustration on both ends. Players either feel steamrolled or overwhelmingly dominant, neither of which promotes healthy competitive development. Over time, this creates a player base that equates fun with domination, where losing is not a learning experience but a mark of inadequacy. The psychological implications of this atmosphere are significant. Games are meant to be escapism, yet a toxicity-driven culture can make Marvel Rivals feel more like a stressor than a pastime. For younger or less experienced players, this can result in increased anxiety, diminished confidence, and an eventual exit from the community altogether. The loss isn't just individual. The game loses diversity in playstyle, personality, and creative approaches that often come from its more casual players. It is also important to consider how the game's competitive design philosophy may encourage this type of behavior. When ranking systems, seasonal rewards, and stat tracking are the primary motivators, players are naturally incentivized to prioritize victory above all else. Without complementary systems that reward collaboration, experimentation, or sportsmanship, the community lacks the tools to evolve beyond brute competitiveness. Developers must actively intervene to ensure their design promotes a balanced and inclusive player experience. Some voices in the community have begun calling for change, whether through better moderation, more inclusive matchmaking, or community events that celebrate creativity and cooperation over just combat efficiency. These efforts, while commendable, often face resistance from dominant players who see any such shift as a threat to the seriousness of the game. Yet without these changes, the long-term health of Marvel Rivals may be at risk, as even die-hard fans eventually grow weary of an endlessly hostile environment. In conclusion, while competition is the lifeblood of a game like Marvel Rivals, the increasing toxicity and dominance-driven mindset within its player base presents a serious threat to its future. Games thrive when they balance challenge with community, skill with respect, and ambition with inclusivity. Unless steps are taken to curb toxic behavior and reorient the culture toward something more sustainable, Marvel Rivals risks becoming a game only the most hardened can enjoy, leaving behind the diverse and dynamic community it could have built.